Hi, beautiful souls. It's Tan back here again today with you on this Astrology, Human Design, and Gene Keys channel. And today we're looking at Gene Key 27 or Human Design Gate 27, which is also associated with the zodiac sign of Taurus. So before we get started today, I just want to let you guys know that if you are interested in getting a Gene Keys reading, human design, or astrology reading from me or any of the wonderful and astrologers on the Tan Astrology team, do head over to our website, tanastrology.com. We have various different services offered there available for you guys, and we are looking to be your guides on your self-discovery journey. All right, so as I continue this Gene Key series, we are now on to Gene Key number 27. And if you guys have this Gene Key, then comment below and share with us your experience of it. I'm looking forward to reading your comments. Gene Key 27 moves from the shadow of selfishness to the gift of altruism to the siddhi of selflessness. Food of the gods is what it's called. And this is associated with the zodiac sign of Taurus from 2 degrees to 737 degrees of Taurus. In the dream arc totem, the vision key bird is the wild turkey. The life key animal is the dolphin, and the fear key underworld animal is the shark. In the codon ring, this gene key is associated with the ring of life and death, and it is associated with the amino acid leucine. In the 64 I Ching hexagram, this hexagram is mountain over thunder, nourishment. The corners of the mouth is what they call it. Bring awareness to what is feeding each action. The heart moves from spirit's inner calling. I love that. In human design, this gate 27, is located in the sacral, and it's connected to gate 50 in the spleen through a channel called the channel of nurturing or preservation, which has the shadow of irresponsibility, the gift of nurturing, and the siddhi of generosity. And the programming partner, which is the opposite point of this particular gene key, is Gene Key 28. That's the zodiac sign of Scorpio. And so I'm going to be, of course, following up with the next video being Gene Key 28 and Human Design Gate 28. Because the programming partner, it's the opposite point, so it offers a balancing complementary opposite to the themes of this particular gene key. So I highly recommend that you tune in and watch that video that I'm going to release on Gene Key 28 as well. Okay, so without further ado, let's talk a little bit first about this gene key's association with the wild turkey. That's how I like to approach each of the gene keys. I like to look at them as symbols and archetypes associated with certain things in nature. So the wild turkey is a symbol of abundance, fertility, and nourishment. It is about honoring nature and the earth. So wild turkeys are extremely social animals. They're also a little bit hierarchical, and they're very uncomfortable being alone, so that you always find them in groups with other wild turkeys. The wild turkey is representative of the harmonious relationship that you have with the land, with our environment, and also with our own sustenance and well-being. So therefore, if you have this gene key somewhere in your chart, or maybe it's in your human design body graph, or maybe it is an angle, meaning it's the ascendant, it's the north node, at the midheaven, the descendant, or the IC in your chart. If you have those angles at around this particular degrees of Taurus, you would also have this gene key somewhere there as well. So if you have this, some of the traits that you will have is, of course, nurturing. You're going to be a very nurturing person. You like to take care of other people. You have this caring quality about you. You are also somebody who cares about the earth, the environment, nature, and you may even love cooking, making food, especially for your loved ones, maybe a theme there. You also probably really can't stand it if people around you are hungry, like always trying to make sure, are you hungry? If somebody around you is hungry, you're going to be like the person to make sure that they're getting food. It's that kind of physical nourishment of food and the earth and self-care. It's a part of your DNA, your genes. You're also going to be somebody who is very giving, very generous, but you never Well, on the positive end of things, you never neglect yourself, though. You make sure that you are fed first before you begin to try to take care of other people. And of course, we can have, the negative qualities of this. Maybe that you may have traits of being unable to care for yourself because you're too busy giving to other people. And that is stemming from a deeper hidden motivation of either guilt or of wanting to avoid responsibility, which we're going to be going into when we look at the shadow frequency of this gene key as well. So yeah, let's dive right into that. Let's look at the shadow of selfishness. And what does that actually mean? So Richard Rudd describes this gene key as being responsible or symbolizing the structure of the food chain in the world. It is also responsible for the preservation of the human gene pool or the gene pool of your species. It's also associated with the mathematical laws that keeps the balance in Earth between the different species on our planet. And this gene key also controls the subtle shift and changes in climate and weather and in the environment. And when we look at the nature of things in the world, well, in nature in general, we have to have this food chain in order for the ecosystem to be balanced and to exist. So therefore, we can say that nothing really can exist unless it is being eaten by something else. And the shadow of selfishness comes from this strong identification with morality and the societal morality of things being good or bad, evil or good. When you overly identify or you're given the wrong information or message about what's good and bad, it feeds into our selfishness. So let's talk about human beings and this gene key, because there is a shadow of selfishness that exists, not just you on an individual level, but just in the world in general. Because we as human beings have evolved and survived beyond that survival stage of things. We have enough food to eat around the world if we shared. We've developed certain methods that has allowed us to produce food that could be enough for everybody. So we're no longer in that striving to hunt for food stage of our evolution anymore. And I emphasize here on we are sharing equally, right? Because of course we're going to have some countries in the world where there's a lot of food and people are very nourished, but there are certain countries in the world where we still have malnourishment. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that if we were to share equally, we're in a stage in our evolution where everybody could be able to live with a very good and healthy degree of food available. But of course we don't do that because there's selfishness coming in. So I highly recommend, if this interests you in any way, if this has been resonating with you in any way, to watch this documentary. I think it's called Eating Our Way to Extinction. Yeah, it's called Eating Our Way to Extinction. I'm going to provide a link to that in the description box below, maybe even in the comments. And you will see what I'm talking about here. And that documentary is very much a reflection of everything that Gene Key 27 really symbolizes. So selfishness is really a result of wanting to ensure individual survival rather than being concerned with communal survival. When you're concerned with your individual survival rather than the survival of your species, the survival of the community, or the survival of the world, we step into the shadow of selfishness. So it's ironic because although we are living in a time in the world, in our evolution where we can be absolutely selfless, we are not. We are still selfish in some ways as a collective, most of us. But we don't actually have to be, you know what I mean? We don't actually have to be fighting for our individual survival anymore. We've come far in our evolution. So it's interesting. But the repressive shadow of selfishness will manifest as self-sacrifice. So this is when you are giving away your personal power rather than giving something to somebody else from your heart. You don't have boundaries when you are in the repressed shadow of this, in your selfishness. You're giving and giving and overly giving with no boundaries, and you can be taken advantage of easily. Because you see, I mean, so the thing is, the law of life and the law of the universe seeks for balance. And when you are overly giving, there's no mutual beneficial exchange. You are disrupting the law of equilibrium of the universe. So therefore, your relationship with the earth is no longer healthy. And the reason why self-sacrifice and overly giving is a shadow of selfishness is because there is a need to avoid looking at your own dark side, avoid taking responsibility for your own darkness. So you gloss over that and you give energy away to other people because you don't want to take responsibility for yourself. Because when you're taking responsibility for yourself, you have to really love yourself, and in order to love yourself, you have to accept yourself for all of your darkness. So let's say that you are concerned with, helping somebody solve their relationship problems, but you have relationship problems in your own life, but you're neglecting that. You're not taking care of that. You just want to focus on the other. This is not truly giving. This is giving because you're avoiding the responsibility of having to look at your own relationships and deal with that first. Because when you really look at the problems that you may have in your own relationships, you may find that there's traumas that you have to work through. You may find that there's changes that have to be made, and that's scary. So you prefer to just, avoid that. So the other reason why overly giving and self-sacrifice is a symptom of selfishness is because there is guilt involved, meaning that you feel like you owe something to somebody. You feel guilty if you are not giving for whatever reason that is. And remember, guilt is a feeling that you should only have if you have really done somebody wrong. If you really hurt somebody, you should feel guilty. That's normal. But if you haven't done anything wrong or hurt anybody, you're just not giving enough something to somebody, you're not self-sacrificing enough, has nothing to do with that feeling of guilt at all. So there may be a wrong message regarding guilt, in your family when you were growing up, and so it manifests as such. So if you continue to be overly giving and self-sacrificing, you can damage your own health. You may also deplete your own resources. You may be in financial collapse. The second way that selfishness can manifest, and this is the more reactive shadow here, is to be giving to other people, but with an agenda. So this is what Richard Rohr also calls political giving. There's a manipulation involved here. It's like the moment you give something to somebody, maybe it's your time or your money, you just kind of expect that in return. So it's not really giving, it's giving with expectation. And the reason why you would give with expectation is because you are lacking something within yourself. You are unable to give something to yourself, and therefore there is this almost like a parasitic nature in which you're just hoping to get that from another person. If they don't give it to you, then you're going to make the other person feel guilty because you're overly giving to them. You see how this works, right? And if you're in this shadow, and when you're not getting back what you think you need to be getting back, you may lash out on the other person. You may get angry. You may even explode. So how can we turn this shadow of selfishness into the gift of altruism? Before I get into how the gift of altruism actually looks, I want to tell you guys that to get to that gift of altruism, first of all, you have to nourish yourself. You have to make sure that you are fed instead of, and that requires a lot of awareness and an ability to look at the darker parts of yourself and to be in the present moment. So if your friend is asking for relationship advice from you, before you actually give that advice away, look at your own relationships. See other people and their need for your help as a reflection, as a way for you to contemplate back on how that thing that they're asking you for is actually manifesting in your own life. That kind of made sense. If somebody is asking you to cook for them, use it as a mirror to ask yourself, am I full? Did I cook for myself? If somebody's asking you for relationship advice, Come back to yourself first. Am I happy in my relationship? If somebody is asking you to wash their car, did I wash my car yet? That kind of a thing. That is a technique that I can give you in the moment when you are faced with situations where you are asked to help others, or where you are feeling called to help other people. Just make sure that you put yourself as a priority. Like how when you're like on a plane, and even though you're sitting with your kid, and there's some kind of incident on the plane, you're asked to put the oxygen mask on for yourself first. If you can't do that, you can't help your child. So once you are fed, once you have solved some of the traumas in your life, once you have nourished yourself, given yourself self-care and self-indulgence, then we can look at the gift of altruism, which is what is also called the pod mind. So the pod mind is coming from, dolphins, and dolphins being I love dolphins. Dolphins being the gift, the animal, the life key animal of the gift of altruism. And for dolphins, the pod mind means this invisible psychic force that unites creatures and keeps them together. Dolphins functions as individuals, of course, but the moment that something goes wrong with one of the members of their pod, they're instantly communicated and are aware of what's happening to somebody in their pod. If a single individual in the pod is in danger, the whole pod will assist that individual. So at a higher frequency, this communal altruism extends to the altruism of a particular species as a whole. Altruism ensures the survival of an entire species, not the survival of a country, not the survival of a company, not the survival of your own bank account, but the survival of everything as a species, because we are all interconnected and we all create balance and equilibrium on the earth together. So if something's only benefiting your country, but it's causing harm to another country, if something's benefiting your religion, but it's causing harm to people of another religion or belief, something's benefiting your company, but it's doing damage to the neighborhood down the street, that is selfishness. Altruism ensures the survival of the whole species. And at a higher frequency, altruism ensures the survival of the whole world. If something is making you survive, but another animal has to suffer for it, that is selfishness. If something is causing a particular animal to survive, species to survive, at the expense of another species' life, that is selfishness. So you get what I'm getting at here. So when you are giving to others from a place of truly giving, what this does is it activates a new frequency inside your body. That new frequency inside your body is a feeling of warmth. And when you can activate that feeling within yourself by giving to others just for the sake of giving, you begin to spread this warmth to others as well. You begin to spread this generosity to others, and they want to do the same. Altruism is the ability to give because you know that you are giving to something that will take what you give and nourish it and make itself more fertile, or make something in the species, the community, more fertile. Self-sacrifice is giving to the wrong people. Self-sacrifice is giving to people who are not going to nourish what you have given. Self-sacrifice is giving to people and feeding into their victim mentalities, causing codependency. That is self-sacrifice. You see how it's different from altruism. Richard Rudd says that altruism is a high form of intelligence because it knows what to give and who to give it to. It does not feed into the victim consciousness. And sometimes altruism is willing to bend or break some laws as well, for when it sees the importance of the support that some particular individual or community or tribe or species needs. Altruism is going to do that, even if it has to break some moral laws or some code of conduct, we can say. So I say it can be a little bit rebellious in that way. Ooh, the sun just shines in this altruism room. So if you are a parent or if you have a kid and you have this gene key activated, you will feel almost like this urge to take care, to nourish your child. But it is very important for you to be there physically with your child in the first 7 years of their life, because the first 7 years is the most important years of development of a child. They're developing emotionally, mentally, and physically. And if you have this gene key and you are not able to be there within the first 7 years of your child's life for whatever reason that is, and you have to be separated, this can break your heart. This can be really painful for you. So if you're able to be there, and take care of the development of your child's psyche in the first 7 years of their life, you are ultimately going to be building a child that will grow up to be an altruistic person rather than a selfish person. And that is big. That is gold. And sometimes you may have to heal your own child wound by becoming a parent yourself. All relationships give us the opportunity to heal. Oh my God. All relationships give us the opportunity to heal old wounds through being able to nurture others. And this is the secret of a happy relationship. It's the ability to heal. So if you are in a relationship and you're not feeling very happy with it, consider the fact that maybe you have not nurtured yourself fully. That's why you're unhappy in a particular relationship. But there's always that opportunity there in all relationships for you to heal yourself. You just have to do it, be aware of it. If you have this gift, you may also be wonderful gardeners, being able to touch the earth, grow something, being very fertile in that sense. And your presence will allow other people to let down their guard, to feel comforted. And if you have this gene key in your profile, you have one of the most beautiful healing gifts out there. So when we get to the siddhi of selflessness, like I have been telling you guys, I don't want to go too much into the siddhi because the siddhi is a state of being in which, you don't have to do anymore. You just are. Once you are getting into the rhythm of the gift of your gene key, you will just naturally flow into the siddhi. So the siddhi of selflessness, Richard Rudd calls it the new superfood. And what's the new superfood? It's love. Love as the new superfood. So the limitation of our current evolution depends on one species having to eat or consume another species. That's just kind of the way that it currently is right now. And this is probably going to be controversial, but I don't believe that human beings have to eat another animal in order to survive. But there's still animals that are still feeding off of each other as well. But Richard Rudd talks about like the evolution in the far, far future of this, gene key when it really takes place on our earth. And I don't think that I'm going to be, no, none of us right now, I don't think are going to be there to witness this. But there will become a time when consuming another species for survival doesn't exist anymore. So basically, we won't need food to survive anymore. So he talks about a time when humans and animals, where human and animal awareness will fuse into one and become indistinguishable, kind of like Avatar. Yes, the different tribes of Avatar, they bond, right, with the animals that they're riding. And that is a unified consciousness there, kind of like that, Richard Rudd says that when that time comes, we will no longer experience ourselves as a separate species. We will function more like a neurological network for Gaia. True selflessness has no self-consciousness in it. When you are truly selfless, in whichever time and age we can really do that, you can give endlessly without ever feeling depleted. But you are instead continually nourished by the field of love that surrounds you every time you give. And you only give to that which is still alive, that which you can still nourish. You don't give to that which is decaying. You only give to that which, like I mentioned before, will turn what you give into something fertile and beautiful. So that's going to be my transmission of Gene Key 27. So of course, if you have this Gene Key, do comment below and let us know what your experiences have been. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you haven't. And of course, do check out your programming partner, which is Gene Key and Human Design Key 28. Well, I haven't posted that yet, but I'm going to be doing that either this week or next week. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget to watch it because it offers an insight into what's the opposite of you and how you can use that as a complementary balancing energy. And if you're interested in getting a Gene Keys reading or human design or astrology reading from me or any of the astrologers on my team, we would love to be your guides on your self-discovery journey. Do head over to my website, tanastrology.com, links below, and see what services we have available there. And that's it, beautiful souls. Thank you for coming along today. I'm sending you so much love, and I'll see you soon.